Get started. So tell me, why do you hate Thanksgiving?
I don't hate Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's an amazing holiday that deserved a family movie, a movie that everybody can get together and watch. This movie's not anti-Thanksgiving. It's actually the opposite. The message is that Thanksgiving is a great time to be together with the people that you love and that love you, and to stop doing what you're doing and be part of a flock.
Now, since you're one of the writers of this film, how did you come up with sort of a Thanksgiving theme in the first place? It could have been any different holiday. It could have been Christmas. Could have been Easter. Why Thanksgiving?
Well, I think Thanksgiving's the overlooked holiday. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a million Christmas movies. There's a million movies There's a movie. There's Hop for Easter. I mean, there's all these different holiday pictures, but there never has been a Thanksgiving movie. I mean, one of my movies, Horton Hears a Who, plays every Thanksgiving for some reason. I don't know why, and I love Thanksgiving. I think Thanksgiving is a great holiday, and it's a wonderful holiday to do a movie about.
And how did you originally come up with the concept of mixing Thanksgiving with time travel?
Well, the premise was written by a pair of writers, and Scott Mosier and I took it up, and I think it was just that very basic premise, but the idea of a couple of characters going back in time to change their fate is not a new idea. I mean, there's many time travel movies, but there's none that involve a holiday. So the idea of animals trying to save themselves is has also been done a bunch of times. But you mix them together and you got something great.
With this project, was it difficult to work with Scott Mosier and any other writers through?
Scott Mosier and I are thick as thieves. We're very good friends, and I had lunch with him yesterday. He's a wonderful guy, a smart guy, and one of the easiest producers to work with I've ever encountered. He's a great dude. And so, comedically and story-wise, we're sort of two halves of a whole, So he's a kind of quiet, reserved, dry guy, and I'm the opposite. Together, we had a fantastic time writing together and making the picture together.
So when you do write, like especially with the humor, do you just bounce the humor off of each other, or do you just sit down with each other?
I think it comes from, I do a lot of my comedy in the booth, and I do a lot of voices and I do a lot of the scratch voices, and I write a great deal of dialogue off the cuff. Mm-hmm. So it will come up with a scene together, and typically I'll run around waving my arms around and sort of like pitch a bunch of stuff, and Scott sort of methodically goes and sits down and writes things out. But I think just our interplay, chatting and hanging out and sitting in editorial together, we get a great deal of our comedy just talking to one another. Mm-hmm. So I think that's mostly our writing process, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Now let's talk about the animation. You like to do a lot of these different type of animations, like Horton and all this kind of stuff. Why do you like to stick with these type of projects?
It's probably the most. It's the medium with the most latitude in terms of you can do anything you can come up with in your imagination within reason. So I think the idea about animation, and I animated at Pixar for many years, and I've been a fan of it my entire life. But I think it gives you an opportunity to do anything you want, and I think budgets are budgets, but I think to be able to do the type of stuff that we just did with live action would be impossible.
Mm-hmm. Now, why would you, for this animation, why did you also go in the course with 3D then?
3D is an interesting thing. This is my first 3D film, and I think, without being too nerdy, I think the trombone-y sort of 3D that's totally in your face is not in my taste wheelhouse. I like to use it like a picture frame and very rarely kind of break the 3D barrier, but I think there's been a real movement towards 3D pictures in the last 5 or 6 years, which I think is unfortunately, it doesn't always get done right in my opinion, but I think, it just adds a component and a complexity to the adventure that I think is great. It's another dimension. So we try to do it tastefully, but it does add. I mean, if you time travel sequences and all that kind of stuff, it really does add to the whole thing.
Well, speaking of the animation, what was the most difficult animated part of the movie for you?
I think two things. I think getting turkeys to not be ugly, and to be able to create like a feather system that we could really sort of stretch and push to the limits that we wanted was a really difficult component of it. I think by and large, too, getting the level of scope that we got for the film within the confines of the budget was one of the most difficult things. But for the most part, I mean, Rich McCain came from Pixar. He's an old friend of mine. He was an animator on Horton Hears a Who, and I had him be the supervising animator. And between he and myself, we really kind of cooked up a system and a set of rules to how the animation should work. That we really arrived at something that we really thought was both appealing and pleasing. We could comedically get what we needed out of it, but at the same time sort of retain the fact that they were turkeys, even though they don't really look like turkeys.
Yeah, they don't.
Turkeys are ugly. They look like melted candles.
Now with
not these turkeys. These turkeys are incredibly good looking.
Obviously. Now with the cast, why did you choose to cast the trio that you actually got?
Well, Owen and Woody are very good friends with Tom Kay, who owns Real Effects, and he's very good friends with a couple of the guys that are sort of at the top of that company, and those guys are, and those guys are all Texas guys, and they're all kind of good friends, and sort of that was one of the main gelling points for getting those guys involved. And like Amy said in the press conference, Amy and I go back a ways and have worked together before and had a really great time. And one of my things is when I work with actors is I really like to work with improvisational actors. So I like to write things, but I also like to cook stuff up in the studio. And I think most of the best comedy comes from working with the actors to try and find what they think is the funniest thing and the best angle at something. And I think giving actors like a real latitude to work, I think gets the best stuff. I definitely know I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and so you want all the best material to wind up on the screen. It doesn't matter where it comes from. And if you've got great talent like that in the same place, you're going to get it on the screen.
So you're saying there's a lot of improv? What was the best improv that came up with during the movie?
I think Woody's pecs and glutes comes to mind. He just started doing that. We were recording in New Orleans, and Woody just kind of popped out with the pecs and glutes thing. I think it's one of those things where if you understand the scenario and you understand the intention of the scene and what you really need to get out of it, you can kind of make those barriers happen, but let them do whatever they want within that area. And because I like to play, I usually play the other character against whatever actor's in there. So in between us, and that's one of the reasons that Amy and I really like to work together, is we go back and forth in improv and just sort of let the scene go where it's going to go. And then later you can go back to editorial and sort of pull out the things that are really great. And because animation takes longer to do, you have an opportunity to get a spark of an idea for something like that. And then through the course of continuing to make the picture, because it takes so long, you have an opportunity to develop that idea into bigger and better and greater things. So the next time you record them, you might come back and develop it even further. And then they'll come up with more great ideas, and it sort of synergizes into an awesome thing. You get a great bit out of it,
Okay. Now, okay. Amy sounds like Amy, Owen sounds like Owen, but Woody sounds entirely something different. Did he come up with the voice, or you basically said, hey, just come up with your toughest voice or something?
No, I think Woody's voice evolved. I think the more sort of like we put together Owen and Woody, I think Woody created it, obviously, but it's born of this sort of zealous, sort of know-it-all dumb guy. I kind of created this rule. Jake's body moves faster than his brain, and Reggie's brain moves faster than his body. And when you get into that kind of thing, it's sort of like one of the great things of the movie was to have Jake, Woody's character, sort of just like drive the action and run over everything and sort of fail upward. And then you poke Reggie in the eye and the audience laughs. I mean, it's some of it harkens back to great vintage buddy duo comedy stuff. And then they created a whole new sort of chemistry with it. So I think Owen sort of has great appeal in what in his Owenness. The more he sort of stammers and sort of introspectively looks at things and tries to examine the situation, the whole mind moves faster than the body moves faster than the mind thing. By the time he's done saying, "Did you not see the line? I mean, this is the line right here," he gets slapped in the face. So I think that was sort of like the key to that, and I think that's where Woody's voice came from.
Would you consider a sequel to this movie, or
absolutely?
just like that, absolutely. If it does well, you'll.
No, it's not about it doing well. Here's the thing about, as a filmmaker, when you arrive at something where stories, it's a story creation engine, where just like the stories, there's so many opportunities. It's not like you're going to be struggling for ideas. You got a time machine. You got a great duo of guys that, no matter how much they know about each other, are still going to come up with surprising results. It's like one of those things that it's just like, I love the people that I made the movie with, and I love the group of people that made the movie, And as a result, I would do it again in a second.
Okay, and I like to wrap up with one fun question. If you did actually have to travel in time, what holiday tradition you would like to visit, or what holiday tradition you would like to stop?
Wow, man. I don't think there's any holiday I'd stop. I think that would be robbing a lot of people that enjoy things. Unless there's a horrible holiday out there that everybody is in pain. That one I would stop, but I don't know what that is. What was the first part of it?
What holiday tradition that you would love to travel back in time to visit the very first moment?
Oh, man. Wow. I mean, I'm sure Christmas would be pretty amazing. What a light show. I don't know. It's pretty hard because so many holidays are religious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really tough question. I mean, I just like getting together with all the people that I love. So, I mean, whenever that started.
Okay, so maybe like visiting the Christmas tree for the very first time.
Sure, man. Go hang out with Charles Schultz when he's doing the first Charlie Brown Christmas.
Okay, well, I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Okay, well.